if they get enough money, those people will probably improve, you know, the content and do more like special effects. Maybe start putting a bit more effort. I've had a black bit on my ear.
Richard O'Sutherland.
Oh yes, yeah, that's good. What's up, YouTube? Hello. Hello. I've just said that. Hello again. Third time. This is the fourth Stewart Lee video, the latest Stewart Lee video in the world ever. And welcome. We are about halfway, so I'll try and do about 15 minutes. Hope that's enjoyable for you, and that you enjoy it as well. So we'll dive in. I'll tell you a story about Uganda. It's my Uganda football top there, Fufa, because my wife is Ugandan, and I went there in June for 3 weeks to see the family and complete our Ugandan wedding actually as well, which was fun. It wasn't actually that much fun, but I'm glad we did it. So let's dive in. Stewart Lee, basically live at the Lowry, 2024. I think it's in Salford. And without further ado, we shall dive in to this.
People love talking to the audience. It's actually a relatively new thing. When you go out now to anything comedy, music, you'd expect to be addressed, wouldn't you, by someone? If you went to see Pet Gladioli doing a talk, and then he might go, "Hello, I am Pet Gladioli. What is that? And you'd expect... That won't make the cut, will it? That won't make the cut. It's racist. It's racist. They don't sound like that, do they? The people of Catalonia. No. No one knows what they sound like. So... You expect to be addressed, don't you, madam? Yes, you expect it. But it's actually a relatively new thing. And no, believe it or not, no one had actually addressed an audience directly like this in any form of the arts, whether it's theatre, television, or anything, before 2016. That was the first time. I expect you to be suspicious. Well, yes, madam. You're going, this is either wrong or it's a setup for a very long routine. And it's the latter, isn't it? So, no one had addressed an audience directly like this before 2016, no one. And the first person ever to address an audience directly in 2016, it was Phoebe Waller-Bridge, wasn't it? From the programme Fleabag. She invented it. Didn't she? Yes, man with a beard. And no one... Didn't she, stripy red man? And no one had ever addressed an audience directly before. She invented it in Fleabag, and she was rightly given acres of broadsheet newspaper coverage and a James Bond script writing deal and billions of dollars of Netflix money, because no one had ever spoken to an audience directly before. Had they, madam? No. Had they? Ingmar Bergman's death? No. No one had ever done it. And she invented it. And there certainly hadn't been a long-running proletariat art form running many hundreds of years in which the audience were routinely addressed on a nightly basis in venues that appeared to have been purpose-built to accommodate that. Well, of course, there had been. There was pantomime, variety, stand-up. But the problem with all those genres is they were performed and consumed principally by working-class people, and they weren't educated enough to realise how innovative they'd been. They were too busy just spilling Bovril all down themselves and appraising greyhounds. And it took a posh, educated woman to come along and explain to them.
That's a lovely looking greyhound, isn't it? Blimey, I bet it can run fast, can't it, mate?
What they'd been doing, because they didn't even understand what it was that they'd done. And it changed everything, didn't it, when Phoebe Waller-Bridge addressed the audience directly in Fleabag. It changed everything. And like me, you can probably remember where you were when you saw the first episode of Fleabag. I remember I was at home watching the first episode of Fleabag. I like to watch the new comedy shows as soon as they're broadcast so I can save time by dismissing them out of hand immediately. And it started, didn't it, the first episode of Fleabag, you probably remember. Fleabag was lying in bed, wasn't she? And there was a young man behind her, sir, like you, but he wasn't wearing a Pet Gladioli t-shirt. He was wearing nothing. And he was wriggling about, making a lustful face, you probably remember. And then suddenly, an amazing thing happened. It was incredible, like the moon landings it was. Fleabag looked up directly into the camera, didn't she? Do you remember that? No one had ever done that before. I'm like, what the fuck? What's going on here? It was incredible. And then suddenly she spoke to us. Do you remember? No one ever... She spoke to us directly, didn't she? She went, hello. My name's Fleabag. And I'm afraid I've been rather naughty, and you have just caught me having anal sex. I went, what's going on? I was freaking out. I thought she could see me through the television. So I jumped up, I put my trousers back on, sir, and I realised nothing was ever going to be the same again, was it? No! And it wasn't! And suddenly people were being addressed right, left and centre, weren't they, in film, theatre, television. But do you remember what it used to be like in the pre-Fleabag days, before Phoebe Waller-Bridge invented talking to the audience? Do you remember? It was rubbish, wasn't it? Do you remember the news in the 1970s? Angela Rippon was under the desk, wasn't she, in a Hessian sack, just mumbling, just going, that fucking Colonel Gaddafi, what a fucking bastard. Colonel Gaddafi, a fucking... Hey, you said it's fucking Colonel Gaddafi? You said him, fucking Colonel Gaddafi. Hey! Angela Rippon there from GB News. Do you remember?
That's exactly what she sounds like, so it's very, very good impression.
Good impression, that. Do you remember?
That's what I said.
When she was young, she's not like that now. Do you remember? You remember her, don't you, on Morecambe Wise with her legs? Do you remember? She had legs, no one could believe it. Thought she was just some stumps being wheeled around. So... Do you remember? Oh, she's got legs, people couldn't believe it. Do you remember? Oh, do you remember what the weather forecast was like before Fleabag invented talking to the audience? It was rubbish, wasn't it? Michael Fish he wasn't a real fish, madam. He was just a man called Michael Fish, not like Mickey Mouse. Do you understand? Michael Fish, he wasn't a real fish, if there's any children at home. Michael Fish was behind the weather map, wasn't he, reaching round? You're going, what's this? Is it fog, Jeff? Is it fog or wind? I can't see, can I? Because it's not looking at the audience hasn't been invented. You'll have to cut the felt more accurately in future, I don't know. It was rubbish, wasn't it? The weather in those days. Do you remember what stand-up used to be like in the pre-Fleabag times? It was terrible. I remember my first gig, the Acton Banana, Acton High Street, September 1989. I was called on by the compere. I shuffled along the back wall, as everyone did in the pre-Fleabag times, taking care not to address the audience because Phoebe Waller-Bridge hadn't invented it. I did my act. Hello, it's great to be here. It's annoying being alive, isn't it? I'll give you an example. I mean, last Sunday at 6:30, I knocked at my door, went down, answered, one of these born again Christian evangelists. He said to me, sir, the answer is just a question. I said, it's a question for which roles, what power, but for a BAFTA. He said, no, isn't that a second to get? He said, yeah. I said, I was born in 0 BC, and I was going, it's just rubbish, isn't it? Rubbish. Because I can't see the audience, I can't read the room, it's terrible.
He did that bit a bit fast, I think. He's good, but you have to learn. I'm an actor, I'm a trained actor, and you have to speak slowly, more slowly than you'd even imagine that you normally speak when there's an audience, because but he has got a microphone, so I suppose it doesn't really matter.
But that's what everything was like before Fleabag invented talking to the audience. I remember that night I was walking home after my first ever gig up Horn Lane in Acton. I was 21 years old. I'd done one gig, and I was already thinking to myself, there has to be a better way of doing this. I wasn't sure what it was, Salford. I suspected it might have something to do with the relative positioning of audience and performer. But I wasn't sure, right? But the main thing is, I was 21 years old, I'd done one gig, and I was already thinking outside the box, yeah? And if you've been coming to see me these last 35 years or so, in Salford, Manchester, you'll know that I've always been regarded as something of an innovator, an iconoclast. And if you're a woman who's been brought here tonight by a man, he will have explained that to you on the way here.
We've all done it.
Yeah, my favourite comedian, actually. There's a guy called Stewart Lee. No, you won't have heard of him because he's not on all the kind of shit you watch. Stewart Lee. Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing, Stewart Lee. When you've seen Stewart Lee, you'll find you can't really watch other stand-up afterwards. Stewart Lee, no, he's not been on that. He wouldn't go on that. But Stewart Lee, yeah, who's Stewart Lee. Stewart Lee. Stewart Lee. Stewart Lee. It's Stewart. No, it's Stewart Lee. Stewart Lee. Stewart Lee. Stewart Lee. It's Stewart Lee. Stewart Lee. Stewart Lee. It's Stewart Lee. Stewart Lee. That's Stewart Lee. Stewart Lee. It's Stewart Lee. It's Stewart Lee. Oh yeah, the first time you've seen Stewart Lee, you won't understand what he's doing at all. But by about the 15th time, you'll see it's very clever. What he does is he comments on his act as he goes along, often in the character of another person. It's amazing. So, yeah, no, he wouldn't go on that. He was asked to, but he's turned it down. Here's Stewart Lee. Yeah, he's amazing. He's amazing, Stewart Lee. Stewart Lee, yeah, Stewart Lee. Yeah, Stewart Lee, yeah. I'm not even sure that what Stewart Lee does is comedy, really. It's more like it's some kind of art, or it's jazz, actually. It's a kind of like a jazz, a bit of ideas, or not of sound. It's amazing. Stewart, no, that's Lee Mack. He's completely different. It's like a clown or something for children. So it's from it's in the Chocker Brothers or something, I don't know. But it's so Stewart Lee, yeah. I got tickets for him at the Salford Lowry on Monday. So you should come, actually, because Monday's a difficult night for comedy. I think he's done too many dates there. A lot of the people won't really be that into him. They won't understand what their clothes mean, and some of them will be both physically and spiritually menacing. And it's sure to be a struggle for him, and it may not go well. And that, to me, is when he's at his best, actually. I actually prefer Lee when it's not working. I think it's more interesting. But it probably won't work on Monday. So you should come. You don't want to come? Okay, fine. Well, we'll do something else. You don't want to do anything with me? Okay. Is this a bit close to home for you, madam, is it? Yeah? It is, isn't it? There's never a queue for the ladies, though, is there, at my shows? Have you noticed that? It's not my fault. I try to be inclusive. You see me. The problem is, a lot of the women, wives, girlfriends, partners, they don't want to come and see me, right? Because the problem is, a lot of the men that like me, they're sort of the same as me, okay? So the wives, girlfriends, partners, grandmothers, they don't want to come and see another monotonous, passive-aggressive man. Just waffling on about things. But it's worse than at home, isn't it? Because it's coming through these massive speakers. So you can't just go, that's very interesting, dear, yes. I've just got to go in the garden, actually, because I think the hedgehog's fallen in its milk. You have my sympathy, ladies. I know this is the case. I know what it's like. You're trying to get ready for bed at night, aren't you? You're trying to get in the shower or have a talk about the gas bill or something. And he's lying in bed, isn't he, on his back? He's got a laptop on his chest and he's watching little clips of me on YouTube, isn't he? And he's going, oh, oh God, he's a genius. So am I, because I like him. And you're going, are you watching that boring bloke again? He goes, no, not boring actually. You can't just watch a minute of it. You have to watch the whole 4.5 hours. It's all about structure, like Tolstoy. So I know this is the case because they tell me. The woman came out to me in Leeds in May, and she said, I wasn't going to come and see you tonight. She said, but I did come, and you know what? I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. I said, oh, and will you be coming again? And she said, no. A woman came up to me in Edinburgh in August and she said, you know that bit you've got about J.K. Rowling? She said, I agree with you about that intellectually and morally. She said, but all the same, it's not great, is it, to be having a go at someone, a successful woman, for having an opinion. And I wondered what you thought of that. And I said, well, I can see where you're coming from. I don't know what I can do about it in that joke. And she said, well, maybe you can address it later in the show. I said, I don't think that would work.
Okay, I'm going to stop it there because it's 17 minutes 36 since I started, and that is my favourite time code to stop watching something at. So yeah, brilliant. He's very good at it's all very self-referential, isn't it? He's, talking about what people think of him, and everything that's written about him, everything that that people say on YouTube. These awful people, don't you? They do reaction videos, and they just sit there, they're just sitting in a room in their house. They haven't even got a studio or anything. They've got no money. There's no budget, and it's incredible actually that anybody watches that, but people do. That's the incredible thing, I suppose. In a way, what those people hope is that somehow their personality will shine through, and people will forget that actually all they're doing is watching something and making a few half-assed comments at the end. But good luck to them. Good luck to them, I say. And if you can like and subscribe and stuff, do it. You might as well. I mean, do it if you want, just in a jokey way. You don't even have to mean it, because if they get enough money, those people will probably improve, you know, the content and do more like special effects. Maybe start putting a bit more effort. I've had a black bit on my ear. What is it with? God, it's depressing, isn't it? Anyway, I mean, I wouldn't, if I get money for doing this ever, please be assured I won't make any more effort than I do, because what's the point? It's not cost effective, is it? If you can make money doing something that's really relatively easy, then why would you put more effort in? If you know, it's stupid. Anyway, there you go. So very good, Stewart Lee, doing well there with some funny stuff that he's done. I was going to tell a story about when I was in Uganda. I still will, but I'll make it quite short. So I was vaping in Uganda and I got arrested by the police, and fortunately I was de-arrested about an hour later after they made me sit there. I had to write a confession. I had to write an apology letter, which they dictated to me, but I made up a false name. I called myself John Schmilby, because I won't tell you what my real name is, obviously, not that you can't find out by going on Twitter or whatever, but I made up a false name and I put a false date of birth and a false address, and everything was false. False phone number. I didn't want to get phoned by them in the middle of Uganda saying you've been summoned to court, and that's that story. I've told that story. I might tell that story in long form in another video. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm at about 20 minutes, and I think that's enough to get just scrape in a few more views, and maybe get, you know, the odd subscriber. I'm very sorry about the little black bit in my ear. I had a little black bit here on one of my other videos quite recently. I should have styled it out, I guess, and I should pretend that's some sort of marketing trick or something. Anyway, I'm just waffling on now. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the notifications button, leave a comment below, share, and I'll see you next time. Don't nobody go nowhere.